Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. This is Don Daniel, founder of Pill Method International, a better way to eliminate debt. And today we are going to continue the conversation that we started on Sunday about the Brrrr method and the pill method coming together so that you can cash out refi years sooner at a much lower interest cost. And listen, since I've started on this journey, some people might be wondering, why do we pay so much attention to how people borrow money? And and the main issue is this. The reason why we borrow money is this. We leverage the bank's money so that we can accomplish certain goals. The way that it's been taught, though, the way that it's been taught is that we're paying it back in a way that is highly inefficient. All right. So when we're paying it back, do you want to be able to give the bank back their money, but pay them all the interest that they're looking for? If you're not paying attention to the amount of interest you're paying, you're not looking at the right thing. People are looking at their interest rate and how much they borrow when the bank is all about how much are we going to make? How much are we going to make? But they're expert in hiding it in plain sight. How much they make is hidden in plain sight. So we listen. This is why I pay attention to this. This is why I want to get the real estate investors on board. I will not quit until this conversation becomes a part of what real estate investors are doing, what what residential home buyers are doing. I'm not going to give up until it is part and parcel of the whole conversation when it comes to understanding financial literacy. Can I listen? I'm going to show you a couple of things. I'm going to put my link at the top of the page. Okay, I need you to start sharing this to other people, telling other people about this. All right, ICE 10K.com. ICE10K.com. There we go. Now, I've got it up there. ICE10K.com. If you are in the room and you want to ask a question in Clubhouse, come on up to the stage and ask your questions. But share the room for me. We've got to get more people on board. If you're online, RSC virtual staffing, and Zoe says hi from Virginia. All right, she's watching us on YouTube. Share this with your community on YouTube. If you're watching us on Facebook, share it with your community on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. But this information is so important. We've been here. This is show, what is this? Show number 241. And still, it is, listen, it's getting more popular, but it's still not as popular as it needs to be. And I'm going to put this out there for the people who are, Vernita, how are you doing? I'm going to put this out here for the people who are on Clubhouse or watching us on YouTube or watching us online. If you've never had a class on how the bank makes its money, wait a second, I got a hum going on here. Oh, there it is. All right. I had to fix my microphone. All right. If you've never had a class on how lending actually works and how the bank makes its money, stop thinking of borrowing money in a way or getting access to money as the end all be all. All right. So we're going to stop here for just a second and talk to Miss Vernita. Miss Vernita, how are you doing? If you're talking, we can't hear you. You might have to come out and go back in. I see Tanae in here. I see her in several different rooms. Okay, Vernita, how are you doing? Still can't hear you.
All
Oh,
right, we'll try.
oh, there we go. That's my fault. everybody
Oh,
else, everybody else could hear you, but I couldn't.
okay, no worries. Well, Grand Rising, everyone. It's been Don. It's good to see you. Always appreciate the pill method. I am a pill method student, client, and my life is changing. So thank you, Don.
Okay.
It's always
All right. Well, listen, folks, I want people to understand if you've never had a class on how banking makes their money and what you can do about it, you are in control of how much interest you pay. Now, when it comes to real estate investing, let's just keep it simple here, ladies and gentlemen. What you want to do is position yourself so that you can increase your profits. So when it comes to the Burr method, okay, so when it comes to the Burr method, think about this. You want to buy it right. And the real estate investors use something called like the 70% rule. So when you buy the property and you rehab the property, you want to keep it under the amount of money that you have in, you want to keep it under 70% of the the rehabbed value. Okay. So when the property is rehabbed, it's okay, how much is that property worth after I rehab it? You want to keep what you have all into the property under 70% so that you can actually start making some money on this deal. So that when you go to the bank to borrow money, you've got 70% in, but it is worth more. So when you go to the bank to get your loan, your mortgage on that property, then you can get your cash out, which is great, and you can use it again. But now you have a 30-year mortgage. And the part of the Burr method is buy it, then rehab it, then rent it, then refi so that you can repeat. You're going to cash out refi, get your cash out so that you can invest in more properties. But how long is it going to be before you can refi and take that cash out? Because the bank is only going to lend you, bank is going to lend you about 80% of your equity. How much equity do you have in the property at that time? So when banks lend you money, they're actually purchasing your equity. Good morning, Tanae. How are you doing?
Good morning. Good morning. What a conversation. I got caught in here because the notifications go on and I clicked by accident, but I'm on my walk. So I'm so happy to hear all about how you can save people money during these higher interest rate times. Always excited to be around you, Don.
So Tanae, thank you so very much for being in here. So I want to make this abundantly clear that everything else you're doing is you're doing it at a discount. Buying the property at 60 and 70% below value, rehabbing the property, and then the money that you have in is still 60 to 70% below the value of the property. So that when you go to the bank with this property in hand, it says, I got this property and I want you to give me a 30-year loan on it so that you can get a loan for a lot more than you have in it so that when you can get your cash out of it. That's very important. That's the first step. But when can you refi when your tenants are now paying you money, good money, so that you can cash flow on the property, meaning my mortgage is less than the rents I'm bringing in. So there's a differential there of $100, $200, $500, $1,000, so that when I get my money from the rent and I pay the mortgage, I have money left over. $500, $600, $700. That's cash flow. Most real estate investors are focused right there and only there. They're not looking at how much of that money that's going to the mortgage, how much of that money is going to interest? I have to break that down first, Tanae. And Tanae, it sounds like you're out walking. I wish you could see these numbers, but I'm going to, for those of you that can't see, all right, I want you to go to YouTube right now on a secondary device. And even if you can, you're out walking or whatever, switch over from Clubhouse. Okay. I'd love to have you in on this conversation, but you need to see the numbers. It doesn't make sense without the numbers. Whoever is talking about borrowing money and investing in real estate, and they're talking about when you're paying back the loan, they're treating the interest on the loan as the cost of doing business, but they're not looking at it correctly because we have not spent the time to understand what 6% interest really means or 7% interest. If you hear a real estate investor talk like this, okay, why take any money to pay off the 6% or 7% loan when you can make 16% cash on cash return by investing that money in real estate? When you hear that, it sounds good, but guess what they didn't do? They didn't give you the numbers to prove out what they were saying is correct, because 7% ain't 7% when it comes to amortizing a loan. Let me show you what 7% really is like. I'm pulling up now. Let me share this screen. I got Kurt Nugent who's running things in the background for us. And he says, Don, I need you to share that screen so that we can put it up for the people so that they can see it. Okay. So we're going to go to, let me see here, screen 3. We're going to share that. I've got an amortization schedule up. I've got a loan of $200,000. Okay. Now let's just say I've rehabbed this property. It's already rehabbed. We're good. And we've gone to the bank and we've got our loan for $200,000. Okay. And so, but the property is worth $230,000 or $240,000. So I don't have enough. I don't have enough into the property now to refi again, so I can get the cash out to. So I'm looking somewhere down the road. To get my money out. Let me show you what's happening here with this at 7% interest, because that's what the interest rates are now. I'm putting it on the screen. When we calculate that, the payment is $1,330.60. It's a payment we can afford, but it is expensive to maintain. Here's what I mean. Out of that payment, $163 goes to principal. $1,166.67 goes to interest. When the bank purchases your equity, saying, I'll give you the money so that you can make money over here. So I'm renting it right. I bought it right. I rehabbed it right. But now it's time to gain equity in the property. We don't gain equity right. We think of the rent that we think of our tenants as paying the mortgage and creating that equity for us. So we put it on autopilot. It's out of sight, out of mind. How many of you have heard that I'm not making the mortgage payment? My tenants are making the mortgage payment. Tanae, have you heard it?
Every day.
Every day. And I'm telling you, your tenants don't have a mortgage. You have a mortgage. They don't have a contractual agreement to pay a mortgage. They have a contractual agreement with you to pay you money, rent. It's your obligation to take that money now and to pay the mortgage. But because we've been taught to look at it as the tenant as paying the mortgage, we stop right there. We stop there. Okay. In any other situation, if I had some money, I'm going to look at what the thing is costing me so I can save money. If I was going to buy some tires, all right, and the tires were going to cost $1,200 to get tires on my car, get them balanced, get them mounted and road hazard on it and all of that. But there is a new store that's selling me the very same tire with the same quality, with the same service, but with a coupon, I can get 50% off. Why would I pay $1,200 for something I could pay $600 for? When you borrow money, you're actually renting the money. Interest is nothing more than rent on the money. So when you're buying back your equity, and that's what you're doing, when a bank lends you money on your property, they bought your equity and now you're buying it back a little bit at a time. And if you look at these payments here, the principal payments on the principal side, you start out at $163.93. When you make that mortgage payment, you just bought $163.93 of your equity back. That's what happened. But it cost you $1,166.67 to purchase that equity. So what I want to ask you, ladies and gentlemen, is even though this property is cash flowing, even though you've done everything else you're supposed to do and you did it right and you're making money on the front end, do you believe that $1,166 is too much to pay to get $163 in equity back? You tell me yes or no. Put a Y or an N in the chat. All right. Or come up on stage and talk to me. But do you believe that $1,166, should the bank be able to charge you that? So let me go back up to the summary. Remember when I said 7% ain't 7%? So when a real estate investor tells you, or somebody that's teaching a class or a course that says, why pay off the 7% loan when you can make 16 to 20% cash on cash return by investing your money? Number one, I would never tell, good morning, Sharon. I would never tell an investor not to invest their money into more doors. If you have a plan, you know how much of your money you want to go into you want to reinvest. You know what percentage you're setting aside to invest in more property. I don't want to touch that money. Continue to do what you intended to do with that money. So when people hear me, they automatically think I want to touch the money that they want to invest with. I do not. I do not. Continue to do that. But don't think of this 7% loan as 7%. When you look at this $200,000, and when you're at the closing table, they've got to disclose that they want from you over 30 years, $279,000 interest on a $200,000 loan. Ladies and gentlemen, does that sound like 6% to you? Or 7%? Does that sound like 7% to you? Absolutely not. What amortization actually does is take 7%. And when you take a look at, now they have to disclose this too, total interest paid as a percentage of principal is 139.5%. 139.5%. You're going to pay back more in interest than the cost of the loan. I need us to break down these numbers so that we can really be faced with what's happening and stop looking at the money that our tenants give us is something that we don't have to pay attention to. Folks, we better start paying attention to it, because when we do, we're going to increase profits, cut our costs on borrowing money. We're going to be able to borrow money at a discount. So I'm going to try to explain to you what it means to have your regular interest rate that you're getting from the bank, But what if you could control how much interest you actually pay? And then when you do the math, you say, you know what? If I did the math on how much interest I actually paid instead of what the interest rate the bank was looking for, what interest rate would I have to pay this little amount of interest? I'm showing real estate investors how they can pay 1% or less. They would have to have an interest rate of 1% or less, some at 0.67%. 0.67% is the interest rate they would have to have from the bank to pay the little amount of interest that my clients are paying. 1%, 7.7%, less than 1%. So if you want to know what that really means, let me give you an example here. If anybody else wants to come to the stage, raise your hand. And so I got Ruben saying good morning. He's watching us on LinkedIn. Do you have to notify the mortgage company of your intention to pay your mortgage off early? Yes and no. If you're escrowing, your taxes and insurance are a part of your mortgage payment. If they are a part of your mortgage payment, anytime the bank sees extra money, their default is, on most banks and institutions of lending, their default is to put that money in your escrow account. That's the default. Okay. Now, if you're putting $20,000 as a prepayment on your loan, it stands to reason you don't want it sitting in your escrow account. But if you don't make that distinction, on most institutions, that's where they'll put it. Now, that's not where it has to stay. You may have to give them a call and say, listen, I did not want this to go to my escrow. I wanted to go to principal. It may take a few phone calls. It may take 20 minutes or 30 minutes or even an hour out of your time to get that switched over because you didn't make that indication that I wanted to go to principal. So banking institutions are making it a lot easier now. They have an online presence. So you go online, and when you talk about making payments, they might have a line on their website that says apply to principal only. They have a line or a box that you can say, I want to pay this much. And that's the notification that they need, is that you actually put it on the line that says this money goes to principal only. That's how easy they're making it now to keep from making that mistake. Okay. So if you don't escrow, when you're paying more than your minimum mortgage payment in the month, the only place it can go is to principal. That's the only place that money can go, is to apply it to principal. So that's why I said yes or no. And the other thing is you need to read your paperwork, because on the mortgage note page, it clearly states that in most of these mortgages, you have the right to prepay this mortgage. It's your right to do it. You don't need to ask permission. It's part of the contract. And let me tell you how strong that contract is. Miss 3 payments and see what happens. That's how strong the contract is. Miss 3 payments, get 90 days behind and see what happens. They're coming to get that house. That's how strong the contract is. So if it's strong on that side, folks, it's strong on your side as well. You have the right to prepay this loan. But what we don't know is what happens when we do. That is the thing. All right. Vernita, I'm trying to get you back up on stage. All right. And so I've got, Trey. Trey says, Don Dada. All right, Daniel. It says, let's go. Wealth accumulation on the rise, positive net worth. The perfect prescription is the P.I.L.L method. So Trey is one of our clients, and he's doing very well on the program right now. So let's take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen. I need to show you this so that you can understand what I'm talking about. Borrowing money at a discount. Understanding the amortization schedule is key. And so what I'm showing you now is how to understand the amortization schedule. I am not giving you a track to run on. I am not giving you a strategy here. I'm just explaining what the bank is doing and how easy it is to upset their apple cart. Are you ready? If you're ready to learn that, go ahead and put a number 9 in the chat. If you want to see, just understand what's going on, what the bank is doing, and what you can do to upset their situation, I'm going to show you how to give the bank back their money and make it impossible for them to charge you this interest. Okay. So thank you, Tanae. Tanae put the link on to go to the YouTube channel, or you can go to YouTube, search for P.I.L.L method. And then when you search P.I.L.L method in YouTube, P-I-L-L method, then you'll see our live and you can click on it and join it. Okay. Alyssa says number 9. She's putting a number 9. This is Alyssa, the only one watching us on YouTube that wants to see how the Sharon Jones says 9. Okay. Anybody else from Clubhouse want to put a number 9 in the chat if you want to know how to give the bank back the money that you borrowed and make it impossible for them to charge you all the interest that they want. Anybody else want to know? Okay. So, okay, Jonathan Jones put a 9 in the chat. Tanae Williams put a 9 in the chat. So here we go. Here's what we're looking at. When you have this loan, $163 you're buying back of your principal, and it costs $1,166.67. Let's say you make this first payment in January. You're looking at it in January, and you can see the line here, on your amortization schedule. February's principal payment is $164.89. And February's interest payment is $165.71. What is the difference? The difference is on line 2 of your amortization schedule, on line 2, the interest cost is less than it was on line 1. But the principal payment is more. Your payment adds up to the same. The only difference is the configuration on each line of the amortization schedule. Every month, every line on the amortization schedule, you pay a little more principal, a little less interest until you pay the loan off. Okay? So here's what I need you all to focus in on. How much you're paying for this principal and how the loan is set up. Here's what they're doing. I'm going to show you at 7% what 7% really means and how amortization really works. I'm putting a calculator on the screen, and I'm going to show you how they come to that figure of how much interest to charge you and what you can do about it. They chose this system. And the reason why they chose this system is because they need you not to know how it works for it to continue. You can't know how it works for it to continue, because once you know, you'll never pay interest like this again. Watch what we're doing here. So it says, now how do they get 7% of $200,000 to actually be $279,000? Well, that's not what they're doing. Here's what they're doing. They're taking that 7%, putting it in as a decimal. That's 0.07. So you got 0.07. That's your interest rate. Now they're going to take that number and divide it by 12. Okay, we're going to divide that by 12. Okay, you get 0.0058 and a bunch of threes. Okay, they take that number and then multiply that number by the balance that you owe. We're starting out with $200,000. So we're going to take this number and we're going to multiply it by 200,000. Okay, equals 1166.666, which means they're going to round up that second 6 to a 7. And here it is, folks. Your first interest payment is $1,166.67. So out of the money that you paid, That means $163.93 goes to principal. And when you apply it to how much you owe, your first balance on your line number one is $199,836.07. Well, what they're going to do now for February is they take a look at how much you owe in January. And if you owe this at the end of January, then they're going to use this number on line one and multiply it by 1/12 of your interest rate to give you the interest payment on line two. So let's do it again and see if it holds true. Let's see if that holds true. So we're going to put in, clear it out, 0.07 into the calculator again and divide it by 12. That's our number. That's what they use. And we're going to multiply it by $199,836.07. Let's see what we get. So multiply that by 199, okay, 836.07 equals $1,165.71. Here it is on line two. Folks, I think we've proven how they do that. Okay, because they've chosen this, here's what they're doing. It's not one mortgage. Doing it this way, it's 360 separate mortgages that they get to charge you 1/12 of the interest rate every single month you have this loan. So it's not $200,000 times 7% at all. It's 1/12 of the interest rate times your unpaid balance 360 times. 360 mortgages. What you want to do is try to fix it so that they can charge you fewer times. Don't let them charge you 360 times. Let's see how you can give them back the money in a way that makes it impossible for them to charge you 360 times. This is why people who work in the bank do not know how this amortization schedule works. They're not taught. People who are mortgage professionals are not taught. Real estate investors are not taught. Real estate agents aren't taught how an amortization schedule works. Your CPA is not taught in their classes how an amortization schedule works. Your financial planner, I don't care if you have an MBA or a PhD from the Wharton School of Business, they don't teach amortization in those classes. And you got to wonder why. Because every time I've made that statement, there's no one on the stage, on any stage I've ever been on, that has refuted that statement. You know, Don? Yeah, I never did learn that. And I don't know anybody who has. So let's see what they're doing. So if I make that payment in January, I made my payment in January. I gave them a huge amount of interest just to buy $163 in principal. And I'm looking at February's principal payment, which is $164.89. Do I have to wait till February to give the bank that $164.89? Do I have to wait till February to do that? The answer is no, I don't have to wait. What if I had it and I could give it to the bank early? I'm going to give them the $164.89 that they were looking for in February. I'm going to give it to them in January on top of my regular payment. That money goes to principal and I'm paid down to line two already on my amortization schedule. And so when at the end of January comes along, they have to use the principal balance on line two, the $199,671.18, to figure out how much interest I owe. And that gives me the numbers on line three, just like that. What just happened? By giving them the $164.89 early, we collapsed the amortization schedule. Payment number one is now touching payment number three. Payment number two, gone. For only $164.89. Gone. And the interest the bank was looking for $1,165.71. They're not going to get. I don't have to pay that at all. The overall interest that they were looking for, $279,016, has just been reduced by $1,165.71. How many of you knew that it was this easy to eliminate over $1,100 worth of interest that you now never have to pay? How many of you knew it was that easy? So do you know why it is not taught? Do you know why it's not taught? Because $164 can save me $1,165. And this is for those people. Now, if you know someone who says, Don, why take any money to put on this mortgage when I could take that same money and invest it and make 16 to 20% cash on cash return? Here's why. Here are the numbers. I prepaid $164.89 and I saved $1,165 in interest I never have to pay. I just got my equity for free. That equity that the bank wanted to charge me for, I paid them $0 for it. I got it for free. That's the cheat code. Okay. Here's the other thing. Do the math. My savings, Benjamin Franklin said, a penny saved is a penny earned. So I've got $1,165.71 in interest I never have to pay the bank. If I divide it by the 164 that I paid them to get that savings, okay, let's divide it by $164.89. Okay, move the decimal point 2 places to the right. That's a 700% return on your money. 706% return on your money. Folks, that beats 16% cash on cash return to death. It's beating it like a rented mule. I mean, you can't even compare 706% return on your money, ROI, with 16 or 20% cash on cash return. You can't, it doesn't even begin to compare. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's what I want to ask any real estate investor, okay? Does it make sense to you now to pay the bank the $164.89 that you owe them and give them $1,165.71 to get it if you can avoid paying them all of that interest? Does this question make sense? If I could give them the $164 for free, that I don't have to pay you interest for it, can anybody justify saying, you know what, Don, here's the reason why I want to pay $1,165.71. Here's the reason why I want to pay that kind of money just to get $164.89 in equity. Can somebody justify that for me, please? Can anybody do that? Is there any reason for it? So let me show you what happens. Let me show you what happens in 1 year on this loan. All right. 1 year on this loan. When we take a look at cumulative principal here and cumulative interest, here is why most real estate investors don't understand how not paying attention to interest cost is hurting their bottom line, because they've been taught the bottom line is what you bought the property for, what it's worth. Okay, what you bought it for and what it's worth. How much equity did you have going in? That's important. Buying it right so that you can sell it right. That's important. Renting it right so that you can cash flow. That's important. So you're making money on the front end, but not paying attention to the cost of the money that the bank, that your tenant is giving you, doesn't make sense. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. So the reason why we don't pay attention to this is because we're not paying attention to what it really costs to borrow money. I'm going to give you 1 year, just 1 year on this loan, and show you what's going on. 1 year. If you pay it like the bank wants you to, out of the money that your tenants gave you, all right, that's $2,031.55 goes to principal, $13,935.65 goes to interest. So I'm going to bring up my calculator here. We're going to add those two numbers together. Okay. Here's the interest for 1 year, $13,935.65. That's the amount that went to interest out of the money that the bank that your tenants gave you, plus the amount of money that went to principal, plus 2,000, okay, $31.55 out of the money that your tenants gave you, okay, and we're excluding the part of the cash flow that you actually made money on this, okay, but the part that went to the mortgage, $15,967.20 was paid out to the mortgage company. Out of all of that money that was paid out, you got to keep $2,031.51. Tanae, I don't know if you can speak to me, but I want to ask the question this way. If I asked you to give me your $15,967, please give me that money and I will invest it for you. And at the end of 1 year, I will return to you $2,031.55 only. That's all you're going to get back. You're going to give me $15,967. And at the end of 1 year, I will give you $2,031.55. And that's all you're going to get from me. Would you want to invest with me?
No, unless you were giving me that 2,000 on top of the 15, it'd be more than 20%.
Exactly. But I'm not giving you that principal back. I'm only giving you the 2,031 back.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no. So, ladies and gentlemen, if we would not want to invest at these kinds of numbers, why are we okay with getting that money from our tenants and be happy with the $2,000 in equity, but we gave up $13,000? Okay. Let me show you what is really happening here. Okay. That means 70%. So I'm going to put this down. We got 15,000. I'm writing it down. 15,967 and 20 cents all in. All right. Now I'm going to take that. All right. We're going to take that money and take a look at how much interest we are actually paying. How much interest are we actually paying here? So we're going to take how much money we're actually getting out of this, and then figuring out what percentage of our money actually went to interest. So if we take a look at the very first payment here, the payment is $1,330.60, and the interest is $1,166.67. If you take, I'm going to do this part first. If you take the 1166.67 and divide it by the entire payment, okay, which is 1330.60, divided by 1330 and 60 cents, that's 0.876. So that's 88%. 88% of the money you paid, 88% of the money you paid goes to interest. And 12% goes to principal. In other words, out of every dollar, 88 cents out of every dollar goes to interest. And you're buying your equity at 12 cents out of every dollar. Okay, let's take a look at the entire year now. The entire year. So we're going to take the entire amount that we paid. Okay, so this is how we got this number. We took the interest that we paid, and we put that in and divided it by the entire amount. So here's the interest that we paid, 13,000. Let me clear this out so we get it right. 13,935.65. And now we're going to divide it by the entire amount of the money that we gave to the bank that year, which is 15,967. So we're going to divide that by 15,967 equals 87%. In 1 year, 80% of the money that your tenants gave you went up in smoke. And you got to keep 13%. Out of every dollar, 87 cents out of every dollar your tenants gave you went to the bank in interest. No wonder they don't want you to know how this works. And you're buying your equity back with 13 cents out of every dollar. Folks, it doesn't have to be that way. So what if we could cut our interest costs by 60 or 70%? I've got some questions here. Let me take a look at the chat, see if I got any questions. I got something from Ruben here. He says, if someone has a habit of stopping at Starbucks every morning and buys coffee here, Cobb salad, blah, blah, blah. And it says where to change their habits of brewing their own coffee and pack their lunch every day, that would save $225 per month. So, Ruben, what you're talking about is that's well and good. These are the budget. This is the budget information that you can get out of any book on budgeting, out of any class on budgeting, and it's good information. Please don't discount that. But what we're talking about is something that's not taught in anybody's class, that out of the money that you're paying, over 80% of that money that you're receiving is going to interest. It's called the house money effect. That's what economists call this, the house money effect, because the money is given to you. You don't treat it you treat it as if the tenant is paying the mortgage, and then you don't think about it because it's house money. You're playing with house money. When you go to the casino and you're winning, that's called house money. And you don't treat house money like the money you brought to the casino, and you should. If somebody gives you $15,000, you better be trying to figure out how you can hold on to most of it or a lot of it. Doesn't it make sense? And stop thinking of it as $13,900 is the cost of doing business so that I can gain $2,000 worth of equity. That's just way too much money. So let me ask you this, ladies and gentlemen. The point so this is the whole point of this exercise, is so that we can see this. Okay. I got Kurt the Bank Bonds in here. Kurt, you should have raised your hand. All right. So let me bring you up. Kurt, invite. All right. And so I can get a little help. Today we're going to make you moderator. Boom. And Kurt, we're going to do the same for you. Kurt, how you doing this morning?
Hey Don, I'm good. Just had to pop in over here doing some work. I said I'm just listening. Hey Tony, how you doing?
Okay. So
Good morning.
I don't know how much you heard, all right? But do you have a comment on anything that you've heard so far?
I've been here for about 15 minutes. Like I said, I'm just listening, Don,
Okay.
watching you and listening to you break things down. So I didn't pull up the calculator or anything. Just listening to the numbers.
Okay, great. So here's what we're going to ask right now. In 1 year, you're going to pay this loan down by $2,031.55, and you're going to pay $13,935. Is the $13,000, is that real dollars? Is that something that you actually paid right now in 1 year? That's $13,900 in real money that you've actually paid out. Okay? So I've had people tell me, so Don, the interest that you're talking about saving, That's in the future. That's not real money. So when you're looking at what do they call that? The velocity of money. You're talking about saving money 30 years from now. No, I'm not. I'm not talking about money saved in the future. I'm not talking about money saved 30 years from now. I'm talking about purchasing something. I'm purchasing equity. And in 1 year, I pay, this is my equity, $2,031.55. And this is what I paid to purchase it. $13,935.65 in real money, today's money. That's what I bought it with. Okay. So the 1 year from now, that's what I paid. So here's my question. If I know I've got to pay principal, if I know I've got to pay them eventually $2,031.55, do I have to pay it in 12 monthly installments? Do I have to pay this $2,031.55 in 12 monthly installments? Let me see my answers in the chat or on stage. Anybody?
Hey, Don.
Yes, ma'am.
I was realizing too with what you just said that money today is worth less than or worth more. It's worth more than money later.
Exactly.
So with that scenario, yeah, I mean, anyone can just look at food, the cost of food from today versus 3 years ago is totally different. So I was just talking to my son. I remember when a Snickers bar was 50 cents, and he says he remembers when it was 33 cents. I said, how could you remember a cheaper price than me? But you know, if you paid off something that is due in 15 years, that's going to cost you more. So I get it.
So today, I remember when it was a nickel. Okay. Hey, Kurt, I'm glad Kurt's on the phone because he'd have something to say about that. So here's what I'm saying, and this is what people will tell you. Why worry about that? Because that is money in the future, okay, which is not worth as much as money is now. What can I do with money now? They're saying that I can invest. Okay, so here's my answer to that. If I give the bank this $2,000 today, okay, I made my mortgage payment and I gave them an extra $2,031.55. Okay. So would they have to subtract that from what I owe? Because that's exactly what they're doing at piece by piece. 163, 164, 165. Look at these principal payments. When you add it all up, it comes to $2,031.55 in 1 year. Do I have to take a whole year to give them that money? Or if I had it, could I give it to them in 1 day in the first month? Could I do that? So let me show you. I'm going to bring the calculator up on the screen one more time, and we're going to show the numbers. Here is people who are teaching this. They say stuff that sounds good, but they're not showing you the numbers to prove it out. When somebody is showing you something or telling you something, especially about real estate or financial literacy, so please show me the numbers that prove what you're saying. You show me what you're talking about on your side of the ledger, but show me what would happen if I did the other side. They're not showing you what happens on, this is the side they're not showing you. Okay. I'm going to show you the side that they won't show you. And I'm not taking anything away from real estate investors. I'm trying to add to, and I'm trying to get those people, the powers that be. I'm trying very hard. Listen, I will not give up until everybody is talking this way, until everybody is saying we need to pay attention to interest cost. And those people who are teaching that we don't need to pay attention to it, they are relegated to the background noise. But what we're hearing up front is we need to pay attention to interest costs and do what we can to mitigate it. So we have we've got the calculator on the screen, and we're going to put $200,000. That's our mortgage. We're going to subtract from that. Oh, I clicked the wrong button. We're going to subtract from that $2,031.55 equals $197,968.45. That's exactly the number here on line 12. So if I give the bank that $2,031.55 early today, if I give it to them in the first month, Kirk, the bank Barnes, I'm paid down to line 12 on my amortization schedule in 1 month. What happens to all the interest payments between line 2 and line 12? That means I never have to pay it. So remember, we're buying back our equity, ladies and gentlemen. So I can do it the bank's way and pay them $13,000, almost $14,000 for the same amount of equity, or I can give it to them all at once and only pay them $1,166.67 for the same equity. That's a savings of over $12,000. So here's my question. If I'm paying today's dollars in interest, and I don't have to pay that money in interest, are the savings I'm talking about future savings or right now savings? You tell me. Future savings or right now savings? Danae, what do you say? Kirk the Bank Barnes, what do you say? Future savings or right now savings? Because I got the same equity.
Future.
Go ahead. I couldn't hear you, Tanae.
I'd say right now savings. So we both have two different answers.
Okay. But there's a reason for that. You say right now savings. Kurt, you say future savings. Why do you say future?
If I don't need the money now, I mean, I don't see the word for it. It's later on down the line when I get older, I'm going to need that money.
Right. So what I'm saying is I'm taking a look at what we're actually doing. When we identify what we're actually doing is purchasing equity. Okay. So when I give the bank my mortgage payment every single month, am I purchasing equity? Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. And am I paying interest on that equity right now?
Yes.
Okay. But if I could give them the money and not pay the interest, did I save that money now or did I save that money in the future?
Both, no?
Mm. It's a so here's so I put it to you this way. You take your wife out to dinner, okay? And you take her to a nice restaurant. Bill comes to $345. And listen, you had such a nice time and you were willing to pay it. But I come along and I see you and your wife in the restaurant and I pay it for you. I pay the $345 plus the tip. So is that money you saved today or is that money you saved in the future?
All right. It
Okay.
depends on how you look at it, right? Don?
It
So
does.
I'm saving the money now. Yes.
Yes.
Right now I'm saving the money.
You're,
But that's money I'm going to spend in the future.
but that's my point. But see, the thing is that the people who are pushing back against this idea, saying that $13,000, that $12,000, you're saving for, that's future money that you're saving, and it's not worth as much in the future as it is now. Why worry about and when they say that, they really don't understand how much money we're actually talking about. Okay.
I think, Don, those people are not, because obviously if you have the
You're breaking up, Tanae. Tanae, you,
Tanae, I think you're breaking up.
Oh,
I'm not.
yeah, and we
okay,
want
I'm gonna hang up.
and we want to hear this. We want to hear. Sounds like you're in a building. Please get to a certain spot and then just interrupt me and come back in when you when you get a stronger signal. But is it better now? Is it better now?
Not yet. It will be shortly.
Okay, thank you. All right. So, folks, this is the thing that we need to get a handle on right now. This is most important. Stop thinking of this as future savings and thinking of it as right now savings, because I'm buying my equity now. All right. And I don't want to have to pay $13,900 for it when I could pay a lot less for it. All right. Horace Jennings online says he can't justify doing that at all. And Horace Jennings also says it's saving money today. All right. Roger's got some exclamation points going up on the screen. Folks, I need you to share this room right now, because every real estate investor needs to hear what we're talking about. And every residential home buyer needs to hear what we're talking about right now. Why pay that money in interest to the bank when you can avoid it? All right. Sharon M. Jones says saving money now so that there's no future for the accumulated interest. I absolutely love that. One more time, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna have to write that down. Here's what she says. She's saving money now so that there's no future for the accumulated interest. Man, oh man. Let's put it this way. When she puts it like that, I've got to say this. This popped into my head. The bank is looking for $279,000 in interest on this loan over 30 years. If for some reason you got this loan, made the very first payment, and before the second payment was due, you got notice of an inheritance, okay? Several $1 million. You've got an inheritance now. And you decide to pay that loan off. Okay? You decide to pay the loan off. What happens to all the interest payments that are on the amortization schedule between line 2 and line 360? What happens to all those interest payments? Okay? Do you see what I'm saying here? If you pay the loan off, and Sharon said, she said it so correctly, saving money now so that there's no future for the accumulated interest. Now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend paying the whole loan off right now. I'm just saying, what would happen to the interest if you did? That's how we have to start looking at it. Anything that I do now, I can save today's dollars on, because I'm spending today's dollars on equity. There is no argument that I know of that says let's pay 80% of our money of today's money to buy so little equity in our houses. Real estate investors. So how can we continue to invest? How can we invest what we're supposed to invest and save money and interest at the same time? Okay? Because here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying don't invest and save money and interest. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying invest every single dime that you intended to invest. Don't mess with that. Okay, Tanae?
Hey, Don, you know why it's a little odd that you're having those rebuttals, because if you are an investor, then when you're taking interest off, then you're obviously putting more onto your profit. So you're making more profit if you have less interest to pay, because your equity and your property, you'll be able to use that as leverage to invest, because you have equity in your property. That's the best possible debt you could get. And then you can transfer from amortized interest to simple interest, which is better interest if you're going to leverage debt. So I don't know why you would get those rebuttals.
I don't know why either. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at what you're pointing out here is today's dollars versus tomorrow's dollars. Why would anybody push back against that? It's because the money that you can save is not apparent. It's hidden. It's not talked about. I have no idea what my interest consumption actually is. So does that make sense to you today? You're off mic. Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't know I was off mic. Yes, that definitely makes sense.
Okay. So here's what we're talking about, folks. If you know, if you can have some idea of the interest consumption, then you know that you have to do something about it. But because the tenants are paying paying you and you're paying the mortgage, you're not concerned as a real estate investor. You're not concerned about how much is going to interest. You have no idea what your interest consumption is over time. Let's go in 5 years, because 5 years is a good point. 5 to 7 years is a good point where you try to figure out what you're going to do from that point on. And some real estate investors have a plan of 5 to 7 years, but so that they can decide to do what they need to do. So in 5 years, that's 60 payments. Look here. If you knew that on this loan, even though you are cash flowing every month, $500 to $700 every month for 5 years or 7 years, listen, and actually you're going to be raising the rent, and actually even making even more money by the time you're into this 5 years. That's what you're looking at. Okay. The loan actually gets easier to pay over time because you are charging more for the rents. But even though you're doing that, are you paying attention to the fact that in 5 years, you've actually paid this loan down by $11,736.46. But the interest that you've given the bank is $68,099.54 in the first 5 years. Can anybody now, if you're looking at it this way, in the first 5 years, you're going to give the bank $68,000 for $11,700 worth of equity. Does that put a different light on it? Is this a different spin on this? That I got $11,000 worth of equity, but it cost me 68 grand in interest. Can any real estate investor justify that? Let me tell you what you can do about that. Here's a simple idea. Okay. Now this is just in general. My program, which is an AI, it is a cloud-based AI computing system that takes a look at all of your finances and then says, this is the right amount of money to put towards the debt this month. And here's how much interest you can save. You need to know how much interest you're saving and what you're paying, what you're paying to get it. All right. You need to know those numbers so that you can come up with a good decision as to whether you're going to do this or not. Because what I see here is, if I have some extra money set aside, let's say in my reserve account, I got some money in a reserve account for repairs and maintenance. I just rehabbed the house. Okay. I just rehabbed that thing. It's in good shape, but I'm still putting away money every single month in a fund for repairs and maintenance out of the rents that I'm bringing in. The money that I've earmarked to reinvest, I still have that money. I'm reinvesting it. All right. But that money that I'm putting aside in my reserve account is sitting in the bank, hopefully in a savings account, but it's making 1/10 of 1%. 1/10 of 1%. What if I could take a little bit of that money out? And I'm just saying, I'm going to go with $11,000. Okay. I'm not saying that would even be the right number for you, but let's say it is. The program says, let's take out of your reserve fund $11,736 and apply it to principal. When you do that, guess what? You just knocked off 5 years worth of time. 5 years worth of time. You did it in 1 month. You're collapsing the amortization schedule and you're collapsing time. With $11,000, you just bought back 5 years of your life by prepaying it. And you just saved yourself $67,000 in interest. $67,000 in interest you just saved if you pay that $11,000. So in one month, you can knock off 5 years off this loan, collapse the amortization schedule, and save yourself $69,000 in interest that you could use in the future to invest somewhere else. Why give it to the bank and let them invest your $67,000 when you could invest your $67,000 because you didn't pay it to get $11,000 worth of equity? Now, Don, how can we do this sustainably? How can we do this so that we're not depleting our funds for our we're not depleting our funds for out of our reserve fund? Because I have to keep that reserve fund going. All right. I'm going to pull up an example here. All right. And I'm going to show you what we did for a real estate investor here in Huntsville. All right. So let me pull this up. All right. And this example, I'm going to pull this over here so that you guys can see it. All right. So let me find that example. All right. And once I find it, I'll put, this is a commercial example. Okay. There it is. All right. Let's pull this over. All right. Here's what I'm showing you. Here is a real life example of what we're talking about. All right. So we have $2 million worth of property here, of loans, $2,236,367 in interest and principal on 2 different loans. Okay. Here's how much interest the bank wants on that $2.2 million. They want $1,123,195 in interest. Let me show you what's going on with this property. I'm going to increase the size of this. Okay. These are 2 office buildings, and they're averaging on the office rent $57,800 a month. Rents coming in on these buildings, $57,000 coming in, and I've got $14,000 in monthly debt payments. Here's the mortgage payments, $14,696. Okay, so the tenants are paying $57,800, but the mortgage is $14,696. Okay, that's what's going on with this. And so he tells me the $36,000 here, 63% of what I'm bringing in, I want to put away for. I've got that earmark for investing. 63% of what I'm bringing in, I'm investing. 11% of what I'm bringing in, I'm putting in my reserve fund. Boom. So those are, I didn't make up these numbers. My client told me, here are the parameters you can work with. 63% of what I'm bringing in, I need to invest. 11% of what I'm bringing in, I'm putting in the bank so that I can have monies to, work on my properties if I need to. So that's what you got to work with. I said, I love it. Let me work with that. Okay, let me work with that. And so here's an example of one of these loans. So I'm going to bring that up on the screen. so that you can see what we're doing there. So I'm going to bring, so we're going to bring up one of these. So let me take a look at this. So we got over $6,000 going into that fund, but I want the real estate investors, even on the replay, to see that 63% we're not touching. Okay, that's going straight to investing. However, the real estate investor wants to use that money. That's up to them. I don't have anything to do with that. I just want to look at the money that's going into that fund. And do you know, by the time that person became a client, they had over $100,000 in that fund. $100,000. Let me give you an example of what's going on with that. Okay. So we're going to minimize this, and I'm going to show you what, let's see, we're going to bring this up. I'm going to show you one of the loans. Okay. Here's one of the loans. The payment is 8704. Okay, this is from the very beginning. All right. 8704. That's the payment. And it's a 300-month loan at 5%. We'll take that out. Okay. So this loan is $1,488,906. The bank wants $1,122,000 in interest on this loan. Okay. That makes it total interest paid as a percentage of principal 75%. Now, this real estate investor bought and read my book and then called me and said, Don, can you come to my office? Can we talk about this? And then this is what we came up with. And I said, we're going to use this as one of the examples of proving why we need to pay attention to our interest cost on these loans. So on this very first loan, in 1 year, $30,000 went to principal, $30,699. Look at how much money goes to interest, 73 grand. So out of the money that the tenants gave him, okay, that is $104,000 in 1 year. $104,000 out of the monies that the tenants gave him. Okay, but he got to keep 30,000 of it. $104,000 came in, but I get to keep 30,000. Yeah. I don't like those numbers. So here's what I pointed out. You have $100,000 in your reserve fund. And I want to show you this, how it can be sustainable. And if you're new to the room, please go to YouTube, search P.I.L.L method, and find the live so you can see these numbers, because we're bringing this thing to a close. We're bringing it to a close. I'm going to show you how you can sustainably do this and not hurt yourself. So we got 100,000 in the bank. I said to him, I said, could you take about $30,000 out of the bank, out of your savings, out of your reserve fund? We're not touching any of the monies that the 60 some percent that's going to investing. We're just looking at the money that's sitting in the bank making 0.1% interest. That's what we're looking at. Could we take about $30,000 out and apply it to principal all at one time? If we did, will we be paid down to line 12 on this amortization schedule in 1 month? And could we avoid paying the $73,000 in interest and only pay $6,203 in interest to accomplish the same goal? And I have to ask this question. I'm asking it over and over again until it sinks in. I will not, I'm like a dog with a bone. I'll never give up on this until it becomes part of the regular conversation for homeowners and real estate investors. I'll never give up on this. I got to ask the question. Once if I prepay this $30,000 and it saves me $67,000 in interest, is there any justification that you can think of just to make the minimum payments every month so that I can pay my loan down by 30 grand and give the bank $73,000 that they don't need? Is there any justification in that? So if I could borrow the $30,000 from myself, I still have 70 grand in my reserve fund. So now what happens, Don? I can't keep borrowing money from the reserve fund. No, you don't need to. Remember, about $6,000 a month is going back into your reserve fund every month from the rents. So if I borrow $30,000 from the reserve fund and apply it to this mortgage, what happens? I take off a year off this loan and save $67,000. But I'm putting $6,000 back into the fund every single month. If I take $30,000 out and I'm putting $6,000 back in every single month, how long will it take me to recoup my $30,000, ladies and gentlemen? How long would it take for me to put that money back? Anybody? All right. Roger Grant says amortized interest is the devil in all caps. Thank you, Roger. All right. So somebody said, how do you go to the YouTube link? That's above your head. Tanae put the link in there. All right. If you want to go there, or you can just search P.I.L.L method in YouTube so that you can see it. All right. See these numbers. So this is the whole point of this. I need to see I need to see that. Can somebody put that in there? If I borrow, if I'm putting that money back, I'm putting it back at $6,000 a month. How long would it take me to put back $30,000, ladies and gentlemen? How long would it take? I'm putting back. Okay, Facebook user, thank you, said 5 months. So for the next 5 months, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not doing anything. I've just knocked off a year. Okay, I just saved $67,000, but for the next 5 months, all I'm doing is making minimum payments. That's month. So I went from month 1 by putting an extra 30,000 on. My next mortgage payment for the next month is actually on line 13 of my schedule. I just knocked off a whole 11 months of payments I never have to make and save $67,000 in interest I never have to pay. I got my $30,000 in equity, not for 73 grand in interest, but only $6,000 in interest. That's what just happened. And now for the next 5 months, while my tenants are giving me money, I'm paying the bills, and I'm going to replenish my reserve fund. It's going to take me 5 months. So the next 5 months, month 13, month 14, 15 on my amortization schedule, 16 on my amortization schedule, 17. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For the next 5 months, I'm just making the minimum payment. But in 5 months, I have my 100 grand back in my reserve fund. Could I then take another $30,000 out and apply it to this loan and knock off another year off this mortgage? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm down to line 29. Okay, I've saved another over $60,000 in interest, and now I'm over 2 years in. All right, and it only took me 6 months to get here. I'm over almost 2.5 years into this amortization schedule, and it only took me 6 months to get here, leveraging money that's sitting in my reserve account that sustainably I'm replenishing every 5 or 6 months. How about that? So, is it possible? So look here. I've got $76,000 in equity into this thing already. Okay, but it didn't cost me $175,000 to get it. Could I in 5 more months, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. And then put another $30,000 on and knock off almost another year. Do you see where this is going? So in less than, in just a little over a year, I could have over $100,000 in equity, just a little over a year, and not take me 3 years to get it. It took me just a little over a year to get $100,000 in equity, but it didn't cost me $228,000 to get it. It cost me considerably less. Okay. One of these days, I'll just build a chart on this. All right. I don't have the chart right now, but it cost me considerably less than 228,000. What if now I wanted to cash out refi? Take $80,000 out to reinvest. Okay. What if I wanted to do that? Or I did it for another year. I did it for almost another year. And now I have over $200,000 in equity, which would take me 70 months to get here. Let's go down to 72 months. Okay. I can be over 72 payments into this amortization schedule. Okay. That's 5 years. That's 6 years in. All right. And it wouldn't cost me it wouldn't even cost me $100,000 in interest to do that. I've cut my interest costs by 2/3 to get the same thing. This is what I'm talking about for all real estate investors. Start paying attention to your interest cost. When you pay attention to your interest cost, then you can understand why it makes sense to leverage money to save interest so that you can get your equity faster and cheaper. You can cash out refi 10 to 15 years sooner. So, real estate investors, Tanae, Kurt, the bank, Barnes. So, by using a system like this, does it make sense that you can actually cash out refi 10 to 15 years sooner than you normally would, and then cash out and keep your costs way low, cut your cost, that interest cost, by over 2/3. And now I could take that money and reinvest that money, my principal, without having to wait. So here's the thing that is killing you, because if I have to wait 15 years to take out my $200,000, now the money is worth less. Now the money is worth less because I had to wait 15 years. But if I can get that money and take it out and reinvest it now, in 2 years instead of 15 years, this is going to be a game changer for all real estate investors. Kurt, what do you say? Got an opinion on this? Because we're getting ready to wrap this up.
I agree. I think the issue is I may hear you earlier when I said later on. I want money now, Dan. That interest. Funny thing, I was looking at bank rates today, and the interest rate seems to be going up for a while now. So if I could cancel all that, I'll definitely take it.
Well, see, the thing is, the reason why I'm fighting so hard for this, Kurt, is because I was in the mortgage syndicate, and someone says, "Why take any money at all to do this with, when I can make 16% cash on cash return?" Okay, why do that? So here's the thing is that if I could prepay money, okay, if I could prepay money where I could take at $6,000 at a time, all right, and I'm talking about 30 grand. Let me show you something, because they told me I'm going to take that money down and I'm going to invest it and make 16% cash on cash return. I didn't push back then. Okay. Because, they're respected, and what I didn't want to do is cause any animosity. But folks, we can't keep ignoring this using heuristics or a rule of thumb that I heard somewhere but I've heard it so many times, it becomes truth just because we've heard it over and over and no one has given us the numbers. So I can take that money and I can show what it means to earn 16%. Okay. But I can't show, what I'm not showing is what is the benefit of doing the other thing. And here's where the benefit is. If I can save $67,000 in interest, $67,000 in interest, and I can pay $30,600 to get it. Okay, so we're going to divide it by $30,600. Oops, delete 600. Okay, that's a 218% return on my money. 218% ROI as opposed to 16%. And the interest I save. Now, here's the other thing. Here is the part that no one is talking about. I need you to take notes on this. The interest you pay to the bank that you could avoid paying. What is the opportunity cost lost on $67,000 that you cannot invest and get compound interest on over 5 years, 10 years, over 30 years? That's $67,000 you can never have, that you can never invest. And what is the opportunity? How much money is lost by not having that money to invest? Ladies and gentlemen, here are the millions of dollars that real estate investors are leaving on the table. It's called opportunity cost lost. Let me see if there's anything on the internet about that. Opportunity. Oops. Opportunity cost lost. Let me see if there's anything on that. Opportunity cost lost. Opportunity cost is the money or benefits lost by not selecting a particular option during the decision-making process. And here are the monies that no one is talking about. If I don't have the $67,000, whether it's future or present, if I don't have it, I can't invest it because I gave it to the bank to invest. The bank has my $67,000. I don't have it now. Where I could have had it, I could have had that same equity for $67,000 less. And now I have the $67,000 because I didn't have to pay it. And if I can track it with an opportunity cost calculator, all right, if I could track it, let me bring that up so we can put a fine point on this thing. All right, so we're going to bring that up over here. So if I can track that money in savings and then say, okay, I could acquire the same property. All right. Let me show you what this real estate investor could do if he wanted to, with just using the money that we're putting in the reserve fund. Excuse me. If the real estate investor's goal was to pay the property off, and all we're using is this money, and he's investing 63% of what he's bringing in. Watch this. He could pay it off in 4.9 years, saving 17 years. We could save, watch this, interest savings, $891,726. That's the interest savings that we're tracking. The effective interest rate. What is the effective interest rate? The actual interest rate is around 5%, but the effective interest rate is What would the interest rate have to be to save $891,000? It would have to be right here. And let me blow this up so you can really see it. Here's the math on it. If I could pay only $231,000 in interest, saving $891,000 in interest to acquire the same asset, I would have to have an interest rate of 0.67%. That's your effective interest rate. So if I could borrow money at 0.67%, why am I trying to make an argument for just making minimum payments on the loan, giving the bank $891,000 they don't need? That's money I don't have that I can invest. And then we do a further calculation of saying, what could happen if you had that money to invest and turn it into another $9,314,000 if we project it out? And ladies and gentlemen, this $9 million extra dollars that this real estate investor could have, because they were able to preserve that interest money, is only at a 1% return on his money. 1% return takes that money he didn't pay in interest over 17 years and turn it into $9 million. What if we could make 6% on it, 7%, 10% on that money? This is at 1% return on the money over 17 years, $9 million. The problem with not paying attention to interest cost, all of my real estate investors who are watching this live or watching the replay, is the opportunity cost lost. It's the money that money can never make for you. That's the millions of dollars that are billions of dollars that is being left on the table by real estate investors all across the country, because they're looking at one side, the cash flow. They're not looking at the other side. How much money could I make with the interest money I could have saved? Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to know more about what we're doing, if you want to know how you can do this, if you can listen, look at this. Look at this. I need to show you this before I get into. We're getting ready to show you how you can do this for with us. We can help you save this kind of money. We can help you make all kinds of money with the interest money the bank was supposed to receive. I'm going to put all of that on the screen in just a moment. We're getting that ready for you, but I need you to see how the bank wants you to pay this loan back. Okay? Look at this. $2,236,000. Make it just a little bit bigger. And every year, just by making minimum payments, you're paying it down. You're paying it down. You're paying it down. Excuse me. Okay? So at 2 million, 2 million 2, to get down to 1 million 1 takes 11 years. Doing it the bank's way. If you're at 2.2 and you want to get it down to where you owe 1.1, okay, and have an extra $100 million in equity, it only takes you about 3 years with us. Okay, not 11 years with them. It takes you about 3 years with us to get that $1 million in equity at a much lower interest cost. And if he wanted to pay it off, he could pay it off in about 4.5 years. But he doesn't. He's going to come in here as he's paying it down, probably in 2 years or so, and cash out, refi, and start the whole process over again at a much lower interest cost. And start working on all the interest. Look at this. They start putting that money away. This is where you can go positive. And all of this, if you were to pay that off and then put all of the money into some sort of investment, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, that money could be $2.6 million. And that's at 1% return on his money. Ladies and gentlemen, I will never give up on making sure everybody all across the country knows this, and I need your help. Here's what you can do. First of all, we're going to get a savings and earnings report. If you want to know the month, day, and year you could be debt free. Hold on, I just need to get a drink of water. Okay, so if you want to know the month, day, and year you could be debt free, get a savings and earnings report. Go to ice10k.com, ice10k.com, so that you can get a savings and earnings report. So, Kurt, we're going to put that on the screen now. So, and once you do that, you go there and click on ice10k.com, find the button that says Get a Savings and Earnings Report. When you're getting a savings and earnings report, put in your information, put in your cell phone number so that we can verify that you're a human being. When you put in your cell phone number, make sure you're putting it in so that there's no spaces. We're supplying the +1. We're supplying the +1 so that when you put your cell phone number in, make sure there's no spaces, no dots, no dashes. Put your number right up against that 1. Then click. Then we're going to verify that. We're going to confirm that number. Click confirm and wait. We're sending you a text message. Take that text message. There's a code. Take that and put it back into the website. When you put that money into the website, then we're going to confirm that that cell phone number is actually real. Then put in the rest of your information and then click the last button there that says, yes, I want to save. Yes, I want to save. It will let you into our financial form, put all your information into the financial form, and you can get a savings and earnings report for free to know the month, day, and year you'll be debt free and how much interest you can save. If you are a real estate investor, you'll be able to see when it makes sense for you to cash out refi years sooner and how much interest you can save. 10 to 15 years sooner, you can cash out refi at less than 1/3. We're going to take off 2/3 of that interest. We're saving you a ton of money here. And in this case, this real estate investor's case, we're taking off 79%. It's a 79% reduction in interest. 79%. Taking that money and then putting it in, reinvesting it, and stop leaving millions of dollars on the table. You talk about a stupendous waste of money and opportunity paying retail interest on this loan just because it's cash flowing over here. We're going to lose complete access to all of that money we're giving to the bank and how much money that money could make for us and your families. It's about time that we stopped doing that. Okay. And then once you do that, all right, you can also get my book. That gives you a foundation. My book gives you a foundation to what's going on. The P.I.L.L method, a better way to eliminate debt. Go to ice10k.com. Click on the link to buy the book. Okay, get it from the link. It'll take you straight there. ice10k.com and look for the link so that you can get the book. ice10k.com. Go to the link, get the book. All right. It will help you to understand why we need to stop looking at interest cost, paying the bank 100% of the money that they want is borrowing money at retail instead of borrowing it at wholesale. So if we could stop doing that, we could make so much more money. And then to help me get the information out, we have the most lucrative referral program, affiliate program that I've ever heard of. So here's what we're doing to help spread the word. I need you to tell people to watch my YouTube videos. Watch the YouTube videos. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to know the numbers. If you know someone who is tired of paying all that money to the bank, whether they're a real estate investor or a homeowner, okay, a home buyer. You're not a homeowner until you pay it off, but a home buyer or a real estate investor. If you want to know how to save more money and understand the process, or why we need to think about it differently. Stop looking at interest cost as just the cost of doing business as something I have to pay to get along. We need a new mindset. The book is about a mindset. It's not an ABC 1, 2, 3 as to how to do each and everything. It's not. It's not set up that way. It's set up to change your thinking and let you know what the tools are that you need. Okay? The tools that you need to get this thing done. So once you figure out what the tools are, then you can do that. So now here's what I need you to do to help me. Get the book and now become an affiliate. Go to ice10k.com and become an affiliate. And when you can become an affiliate, it takes 15 seconds to fill out and it's free. Find people, find someone, find a friend, family friend or whatever, a real estate investor who is really, who understands and they're tired of giving all of that money to the bank. If they're okay with it, don't talk to them. I only want to talk to people who want to change. They've seen something, it's not right. I don't want to do this anymore, and I want to do something else. Then point them to my YouTube channel, follow up with them in no more than 48 hours. No more than 48 hours because the interest goes down after 48 hours. Follow up with them in about 48 hours and ask them, do they want to know more? Are you still interested? If they say yes, go back to my digital business card, the ice10k.com. And there's another link there that says refer a friend. Put all their information in. And then where it says who did the referral, put your name and phone number in there. We'll get it on our side and we'll do everything else from there. No selling, no explaining. You're just asking, are you tired of doing it this way? do you want, do you wish you could take that interest money and do something with it? Okay. Some people are noticing. Okay. And they want to know what they can do about it. And then you point that out and says, okay, here's something you do. Watch these videos. I'm going to come back to you in a couple of days. Send it in. You send us one in a calendar month. Send us one lead, one referral that has at least $100,000 in debt. Okay. One referral that has at least $100,000 in debt, and they become a client. We pay you $300. You send us a second one in the same calendar month. We'll pay you $400 for that one when they become a client. If you send us a third one in the same calendar month, we'll pay you $500 for that one. You send us a fourth one in the same calendar month, we'll pay you $600 for that one. And send us a fifth one in the same calendar month, we'll double the $600 and make it $1,200 for that one. That's a total of $3,000 in 1 month. Between $300 and $3,000. We have people who are like Sharon Jones. Sharon Jones, she's sent us 2 already. So, but they were in 2 separate months. So she's got to get $300 for one. She's going to get $300 for the second one. She's already gotten paid. All right. So people are using this system to help us to get the word out. And by you helping to get the word out, okay, maybe we can inspire Nike to do the same thing for you. All right. You wear Nikes, somebody sees your shoes, and then you can turn that into Nike and they buy a pair of shoes and maybe Nike can pay you. But if Nike is not paying you, if Gucci is not paying you, if none of those other companies are paying you, we're going to pay you for helping us get the word out. Become an affiliate today. Go to ice10k.com and become an affiliate. So we're going to break this thing down, and I'm going to put the we're putting on the screen. Here is the opportunity cost calculator. Here is the math behind everything that's going on. It's not magic, it's just math. And what I'm going to do is reset this thing. I'm going to reset it to put In our last couple of minutes here, I'm going to reset it to put in multiple properties. Okay. Multiple properties and reset. I'm putting 10 properties in. So the program takes a look at the money you're bringing in and how much you've earmarked to go to something else and what you can do with the leftovers. Okay. We're going to show you when we come back from vacation. So we're going to be back on, I believe, on the 30th. All right. We'll be back on the 30th. I think that's the date. Is that right, Kurt? I can't see the calendar right now. I need a little help. Is the 30th the last Sunday of the month? Somebody tell me. Okay. So anyway,
yeah, the 30th is the last.
And that's when we come back.
I'm checking the calendar now.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Kurt's going to let us know when we come back because Patricia and I are going to go on vacation. So we're actually leaving. We're actually flying out today. All right. So this is our last show for about 2 weeks, and we're going to do replays on. So we're on every Wednesday, on Sunday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So we're going to have replays so that you can see on those days. And I think we'll be back on the 30th is when we come.
You are correct. It is the 30th.
All right, we'll be back
on the 30th.
That's Sunday the 30th. We'll be back live, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Kurt. Appreciate that. But here is one last example. The rents that are coming in is $15,000. And then as the program, I'm going to skip to the good part. As you keep up and update this program, all right, and tell the program how much you're paying and you're making minimum payments on your loans, okay? There's 10 loans in here. Let me show you where they live in the account section, okay? Here's all 10 loans. Mortgage 10, mortgage 1, mortgage 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and a HELOC, okay? So there's 10 mortgages and a HELOC, or 11 mortgages total, because a HELOC is a second mortgage, all right? So we're taking a look at this thing, and as we update the program, okay, the program tells me that we can, out of the monies that we're bringing in, I can take 4,000 of those dollars that are left over because we're investing everything else. We can take 4,000 out of the reserve account and apply it to the HELOC, pay it off to zero, and put $4,000 on mortgage number 9. Why do we want to put $4,145.30? I mean, right down to the penny. We have more money in the bank than this, but why stop at the 30 cents? Because this is an optimized number and an optimized date, and we're picking the right loan to save the maximum amount of interest per dollar. When you're using your dollars, you want to get the biggest bang for your buck. You want to save the most interest you possibly can when you're doing something, and this is it. When we put this $4,145.30 on this date right here, look at this. We're going to save, let me make this bigger. Okay, we're making it bigger here. We're going to save $48,149.32 in interest when we prepay this $4,100 to mortgage number 9. What does this really mean? Here's what it means. If I were to pay just minimum payments on this loan, on this mortgage, on mortgage number 9, by the time I paid it down by $4,145.30, I would have to give the bank $48,149.32 in interest. If I can choose when I give them the $4,100 and avoid giving them $48,000, why shouldn't I do that? Is there a real estate investor anywhere that says that this doesn't make sense? That we should add this as a metric to increasing our profits by cutting the bank's interest by 75 to 80%. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm out of here for the next few days. But enjoy the replays that we put up. I've got a word from Dr. Eric Thomas, who's used the program, E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher. He's got the last word here for the folks that are online. And then after he speaks, I'm going to come back to our friends here on Clubhouse and have Kurt do an outro for us. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for being here. Spread the word, spread the news. Everybody needs to get on YouTube, our YouTube, subscribe, like the videos, and comment. Okay. But here is a word from Dr. Eric Thomas, and we'll see you in a few days.
Listen to me, y'all. But one of his mentees took us through one of their programs, and I paid off my mortgage. But guess what happened? My marriage went to a whole nother level. And you know why? Because my wife is a security freak. And even when I blew up, my wife would be like, oh, you blew up, but how long is you gonna keep making this kind of money? I was like, I don't know, forever. She's like, you sure? Because I'm gonna keep my license as a nurse just in case you don't. So when I paid the house off, my boy was like, you ain't gotta do that, you can do this. But when I paid the house off using that program, it took the stress level all the way down from my wife because we no longer had a mortgage. Does that make sense? That thing that was coming every month, that was getting on her nerves, we didn't have that no more. And so she was at rest.